Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain amma ba'd. Pemirsa Ilham TV yang dirahmati Allah Subhanahu wa taala, kali ini kita akan menyaksikan sebuah video kisah mualaf dari seorang pria asal Argentina yang bernama Abdulmatin. Mari kita simak video kisah mualaf berikut ini.
Okay, I'm from Argentina. My name is Abdulmatin. That's a Muslim given name. I didn't choose it. It came from a sheikh. And what else? Yes, I'm 32, and I've been a Muslim for more or less 10 years. Yes, and we came to Islam only because of Maulana, of Sheikh Nasim. I personally, me, or many of us, not only me, we came through looking at him only, impressed by him. It was mostly about that. Well, it was more or less a normal life, in Argentina, in Mendoza, those years. And I was studying sociology in university. But not much more than that, only that life has lost a bit of its taste. We were not believing in anything, of course. We were actually against belief. We didn't know anything better than that, because religion in many places, including Argentina, is something void, is just a shallow like fixing for your life a little bit, and it was considered by us, many, as something to fix your psychological issues, or because you cannot deal with reality. So for us, religion was a bit of a nonsense, and most of the religious people I met, they looked like they were faking, actually. It was nothing you can really feel. They were not inspiring people. Opposite of what I saw after that, when I grew a bit older, I was about 20, 21, and I met one elder murid of Maulana, Sheikh Nasim, and I was impressed by the beauty, light, but it's hard to call it light, because in that time I was not looking at light. I did because when people say light, you imagine someone who is glowing or something. No, I didn't see that. It was not like a straightforward spiritual opening, but it was just looking at someone who has some kind of natural beauty and attraction somehow. And he was coming from a different reality, it looked like. It was not like all the other things I've seen. I was somehow looking for something, but the main thing is that I didn't know what I was looking for. You just don't know. Well, in Argentina, in those years mostly, there was not Islam around us. There were no masjids. There were no maybe there were Muslims, but you can tell they don't look like Muslims. They look like you and like me and like everyone else, but there was not like adalah, or I think I saw Arabic language just one time when I was young, and one relative went to Emirates, I think, and he had something written in Arabic. It was very unfamiliar for all of us. There was no Muslims to refer to and to have like some kind of consciousness about it. And it was not, in those years when I was young, it was not in the media like now about terrorism and this and no, it was not there. We didn't have those European issues. No, alhamdulillah, we didn't have that. So we came to Islam without knowing that we were going to Islam. We just met people who were inspiring, because of Maulana, because of Tariqa, because of genuine brothers who were also looking for spirituality, maybe. And we were inspired by them as well. I saw generosity, I saw brotherhood, I saw familiarity as well, the idea of family as well. When I was young, there was still this thing about family lifestyle in Argentina. We were getting together with my grandparents, with uncles, these cousins, every weekend more or less. There was still this connected or connectivity between families. I don't know what to say. But then gradually all that thing it went down. We stopped meeting with our family and this and that. Then you get busy with your job. And people even died and some they left. And most of us, we left Argentina as well. So families got dissolved. And also in this tariqa, I found again like that taste for family as well. Also, nowadays it's hard to tell because Islam nowadays is far from its roots, very far, regretfully. But in its origin, this thing about brotherhood, this thing about calling everyone a brother or a sister or this and that, brings you back to your nature. That's what I'm trying to say, I think. But of course, we didn't know any of these things in the beginning. It's just a feeling you get. It's just natural attraction. And I was looking for something. I met a few people from other tariqas. I learned a bit of yoga. I was reading books or meditation, this and that. Nothing big, but we were learning a bit. But when I saw this elder brother, Jan, it was, wow, that was a big difference. To see things with your own eyes. Then I really said, okay, this is real. This is not a movie. This is not a picture. And then I started. That was the main thing. It was not about researching on the internet. It was not about going to a masjid. It was not a process of this kind of like social study about what is really. No. It was not an intellectual process, my process. It was just there. Very natural, Yani. Well, as I was saying, it was mostly about meeting the people. It was to meet first this elder brother, Yani. But it was a bit miraculous as well. I always forget to tell these miracles, and that's the main thing about my story. Not this, that it doesn't sound very interesting, but because when I met him, it was a meeting. He gave a speech and then I came to him, and usually I do translation because not always there's people who knows English and Spanish quite well in order to make a translation. So that's something that I do every now and then, not as a job. And he was looking at me, waiting for the translation from someone else. It was something very simple, nothing difficult. And I was looking at him. We were looking at each other's eyes. And he was waiting for the answer, which was maybe one sentence, something. And I was trying to say the answer, but I couldn't. My tongue didn't move. We kept like staring at each other for a few seconds or something like that. And then someone else gave the answer. It never happened that before or after in my life, never. So there was a moment there that we stayed there, like the movie went into pause and something happened there, Then I started to go to the meeting, Shani, Thursday night at Dhikr, and I met other brothers, and then things went like that. But after that, maybe 1 year after that, another brother told us that this elder murid that I met, he shared a dream he had in which he saw Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on a dream, and in that dream he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet, was telling him, look at people in the eyes. So then I think that there was something that happened there, that they were giving something to me, which I was completely unconscious about it. And then I had like a bit of comings and goings, but then I stayed in Islam or in Tariqa maybe only because of that moment, and only because I saw that reality, even though then you see real people with mistakes, with shortcomings, with problems, but because of that moment of beauty as well, and reality, and things I cannot explain, which is like this kind of miracles, then I stayed, just maybe trying to find out. Maybe I'm still trying to find out what happened. And there was something interesting as well. After that, Usually sometimes I forget about the dreams I have, or I just can't see much. And it happens that someone else comes and tell me a dream which has nothing to do with them, because the dream is for me, but it's like Allah knows that I will forget, so He brings someone to tell me about that dream. It happened 3 times. At the beginning I didn't know. So my sister came one day and she told me, I saw you, speaking about me, I saw you on a dream and you were pregnant. I said, well, thank you, but I don't know what that means. I'm not expecting a child yet. But after a while, I met this elder murid again in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. That was maybe 1 year or 2 years after that. And I told him about this dream. And he told me, no, that is because you are spiritually pregnant. There was something that it came to me, and maybe it's waiting to come out to the surface till today. Because the rest is just a normal story. I just started to go to dhikr, I met people, and I learned a bit about Islam, even though I didn't learn much. I was not learning Arabic, I was not learning Quran. I was just imitating a little bit. Even the thing is strange, because then people ask me, are you Muslim? And I say, well, I don't know, but I was. But up to some extent, it was so natural for us that I didn't even know that, because we came like to Sufism, or something like that. We were not like trained as a Muslim. I say, you need to do these 5 pillars, this is fard, this is halal, this is... No, that came way after that, yeah. And also because in the place I come from, there was no masjid. People were asking me what happened when you first time heard adhan, the prayer call. And I say, I didn't, because where I come from, there is no adhan. We were making adhan. So everything was very natural, and the Jamaats, the groups where I come from, we were all reverts. It's not that you are a revert and the rest they are all born Muslim. We were all reverts, all. The Imam, me, you, everyone, we were all reverts. Which is also something very strange. Then I found out about that when I went to Europe or other countries. Then I found out that there were also normal Muslims who don't believe in many things, and they don't pray much, or they don't even pray at all. And I say, oh, how can that be? We thought that Islam was only about spirituality. Yeah, it was so rare. Yeah, way later on, which is good, because we were just beginning, and we were interested in these other things, which is mostly something which is about, you can call it love, in the reality of what that means. Love is not necessarily something just emotional, related to having fun. Love is also related to all these things, we can call it fitra now that I learned Arabic after many years. Then I could put labels on that. But in that time, there was no labeling process, like on a factory that you put labels, this is chocolate, this, that, the price, the ingredients. No, it was just a raw candy that you say, man, this is good. That's what I was looking for. As I was telling you, it was very natural, and we recovered, or maybe rediscovered, about life again, about friendship, about family, about generosity as well, and we found many answers, and then it made much more sense. Basic things about prophets, about the amount of prophets. Then in Islam there are a big amount of things which are very clear, that in the rest of the religions or in the rest of the common knowledge, they are not very clear. Mostly in the Christian world, this kind of fantasy about Jesus, about Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, that doesn't make much sense, and it brings even more confusion, and it makes it look like it's just nonsense, like religion is pure nonsense, only for people who are mentally disturbed. But thanks to Maulana Sheikh Nasim and real people, we found out that no, it was much more than that, and that the real nonsense is inside Western civilization. Yeah, most of what we thought is that religion was something for people who cannot deal with reality properly, So they need to find a place to hide themselves and to find like a way to kind of live some kind of fantasy in order to deal with deception of this life and or what people say this life is, which it looks like something very unpleasant, and to deal with the problems of reality and that. But then we found out that there was also people who had some real approach for religion or for spirituality, and also that those two things were linked, were the same thing, they were not different. There was, because also we thought that there was spiritual people and religious people, and then we found out that no, it's the same thing, and that was the main thing that brought us to where we are here now. And then we understood that the real deception is in Western life, which is offering only a life of just plain suffering, in which you wake up, if you wake up, and you go to your job, and then you go back to your house, and then you go to sleep, and then that same story gets repeated till you die. So it looks and it sounds very depressing, like that doesn't sound like life. Of course, we didn't know what we were looking for. It was just a big need of, now we will say, a big need of reality, or light, or love, or I don't know how to put it. And now I can say we were looking for this, or I can use even Arabic words, but in that time, no. We were only like naturally attracted to people who were different than the people we met before, and different from us. So before we didn't have belief, we were even against belief, because it's not something strange. It's a natural, logical process of someone who is willing to understand and has kind of a fair mind. When you see what people who have like this kind of fake religion or fake lifestyle about religion or spirituality, then you say, no, this is nonsense. And the things, the tales that they tell you in modern Christianity, like coming from a Catholic country like me, then no, it doesn't make any sense. It's a lot of confusion, and no one seems to be telling the truth. And the people that we met, that they looked religious, they didn't have any kind of wisdom in what they were saying. So it was very hard to believe in them. And then we found people that they were saying things that are much more logical, that they make sense, and then explain a lot about life, about human beings, and also about things that in other traditions they are mixed up, about, like we were saying before, about the amounts of prophets, and the amount of awliya, of saints in the world, and everything gets like complete inside Islam, which is quite preserved, and there's proof for everything, and everything's on the table. That was very strange as well, like saying, yeah, the prophet, and where is he? There, he's buried here. And say, well, how can that be? He's buried here. Like everything was on the table. And in other places or other situations, let's say, things were under the table. You were always felt that this doesn't make sense because they have a lot of things to hide. They were hiding the truth, and that was not something very inspiring, to be honest, in my life. But the rest is something that it was about kind of a very progressive, like, understanding about myself. And that was very helpful as well, because I was trying to do that throughout my life, but there was not much of progress, because also in psychology, for example, if you do therapy, psychological therapy, then you can more or less diagnose. They can tell you, oh, no, I think you are depressed. And you say, you know what? I also think I'm depressed, but what are we going to do about it? And then you are left like barefoot. So when you go to therapy, you can understand a few things about yourself, but there's not like a place or like the tools to do something about it. There's something like that. But when you have a spiritual teacher, real one, he will help you to that. Not only to acknowledge it, not only to see it, but also to say, yeah, I am jealous, or I am angry, or I have this problem or that. And also he will make situations for you to face it somehow and to deal with it more or less. And then it starts to repeat. Wise men say in many traditions that life repeats itself again and again till you more or less get the lesson, which is hard because we are not used to listen or to see. Or we're always with phones and cameras, and something is blocking your eyes or blocking your ears or everything. And I hope that is a good answer for your questions as well.
Itulah tadi kisah mualaf dari seorang pria Argentina, dan mudah-mudahan kita bisa mengambil hikmahnya. Semoga akhirnya Abdulmatin bisa istiqomah di dalam Islam dan menyebarkan dakwah Islam di Argentina. Amin. Sampai di sini dulu perjumpaan kita. Jangan lupa untuk klik like, share, dan subscribe channel Ilham TV. Sampai jumpa pada video berikutnya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.